Well, it's that time of year again, and GoPro is ramping up for its 2025 releases. We know that the release of the Max 2 360 camera is imminent because the company has not only teased its release, but has even posted specific information about it on social media. The Max 2 is one of the most important releases for GoPro in a very long time, and after a long delay, it looks like it's finally coming. But could the release of the Max 2 indicate that we might not see a HERO14 Black this year? Stick around for my thoughts on that later in the video. The details of why the Max 2 was delayed for so long are not specifically known, but I've long suspected that it was so that the new GP3 chip could be integrated into it. In fact, I was surprised when GoPro said originally that it was going to have the GP2 inside, since that chip was nearing the end of life, even back then. We know that the GP3 chip exists due to a GoPro shareholder call earlier in the year, but we don't know its precise specification yet. As I've mentioned in previous videos, I feel that it's essential that the GP3 has at least a 5nm fabrication process, and preferably even a 4 or 3nm process in order to give it a decent amount of future-proofing. Judging from the shareholder call, GoPro sounds confident in the new chip's image processing capabilities, but we expect a company like GoPro would big up the capabilities of any new chip. But out of all the manufacturers of action cameras, I still feel that GoPro produces the best quality image overall. Okay, I know GoPros aren't so great in low light, but in good light, the image from a GoPro has a certain quality to it that isn't present in rivals. Add to that the fine-tuning capabilities of the Labs firmware on Hero models, and you have a degree of flexibility that isn't available anywhere else. Personally, I think it's a good thing that GoPro delayed the Max 2 if it means that it's a better camera. It's a milestone release for the company, coming on the back of Insta360's X5 and DJI's Osmo 360. GoPro will not want the Max 2 to fall short, particularly given the current tense rivalry between GoPro and Insta360. I might do a separate video on that particular legal debacle at a later date. Currently, we don't have firm details on Max 2 specs, but I think it would be highly unlikely that the Max 2 isn't using at least 8K sensors. What we do know from GoPro's social media posts is that it features user-replaceable lenses, something that I think needs to be an essential feature of any action-based 360 camera going forward, so I'm very glad to see that. However, could the announcement of the Max 2 mean that we might not see a HERO14 announced this year, or at least not at the point of year we might usually expect such an announcement to take place? Rumours are abound about the specification of the new HERO14, and the new device was mentioned in the shareholder call too, but that doesn't mean it'll get released this year or during the usual October time period. Perhaps if it is announced, maybe it might be closer to Christmas. Why do I say this? Well, because the Max 2 is such an important release, and if we assume that its official release is fairly imminent, it doesn't make much sense to dilute coverage of it by releasing another new flagship camera at the same time. Furthermore, as I've mentioned in other videos, GoPro doesn't have the same resources as some of its rivals. Developing two separate flagship cameras simultaneously is a big resource drain, particularly if you want to make sure the device is as good as it's possible to get. Regarding the features that the HERO14 might have, I put stock in the rumours that it might also feature an 8K sensor. I know some of my audience might balk at that idea because the subject of low light often comes up, and having smaller photo sites doesn't help with that. However, most new advances in low light performance are coming from the way in which the image is processed. I should remind viewers that Insta360's Ace Pro 2 has an 8K sensor. It's actually higher resolution than that, and its low light performance is excellent, and that's due to the advanced processor it features. The GP3 is going to be a marked improvement over the GP2, so it stands to reason that GoPro might not just put an 8K chip into the HERO14, but may finally install a low light mode too, or at the least feature far better low light processing than any previous camera in the range. Any low light mode on the camera could make use of advanced sensor options, such as combining pixels to create virtual pixels, which treat several light gathering photosite areas into one larger one. The result is a lower resolution output, but much better low light and noise performance. I still don't believe that sensor size will increase that much, certainly not to 1 inch, for all the reasons I've outlined so many times before. One thing I'd like to see is a 1:1 fully square ratio mode to make open gate recording even more practical. This was seen on the HERO14 with the ultra-wide lens mod, but not using the standard lens. I love being able to choose my aspect ratio later and or use my own methods within Resolve to convert the view to 16:9 for the ultimate POV angle with minimal fisheye distortion. Is it possible that GoPro might finally change the lens to a wider angle model? I've long wanted to see the back of modes like Superview and Hyperview in favour of a lens that's similar to Laowa's 0D lenses. Doubt we'll ever see that, but a naturally much wider lens that doesn't need those distortion modes would be very welcome indeed. However, I'm not sure we'll see it because it would mean that last year's lens mods would no longer be compatible. Therefore, failing a new lens, if we did have a 1x1 mode or even the old 8x7 mode, I'd like to see some much more advanced processing to take those aspect ratios and expand them to 16:9 in camera, more in keeping with how the lens distortion reduction tool works within Resolve. As I've just mentioned, doing this would create an ultra-wide POV with minimal fisheye distortion, and a GP3 chip could be capable of this more advanced method of processing. Although again, I think this is wishful thinking on my part rather than a realistic expectation. As for any other features, I think as per usual we can expect a wide variety of higher frame rates being available in different resolutions. The HERO13 featured burst slow motion frame rates of up to 900 frames per second, albeit at very reduced resolutions. But the results were actually pretty clean and upscaled using software like Topaz very well indeed. It's likely that we'll see some of these new frame rates available in slightly higher resolutions with any new sensor. Could this mean 240 frames per second at 4K and 480p in 2.7K? Again, likely to be wishful thinking on my part, but it's not necessarily impossible. One big update that we can expect with outright certainty is much better battery life. I still hold by my assertion that the HERO13 with its new body and battery design was designed to feature the GP3 chip, but ultimately didn't due to a delay in the chip development. Now we know that the GP3 is a reality, any new Hero camera will almost certainly feature significantly better battery life than previous models. As for when the HERO14 will be released, I could be and may likely to be proven wrong, and October could still be on the cards as usual, but right at this moment in time I feel there may be a slightly different schedule for release this time around. As per always, I look forward to seeing how my predictions pan out, rightly or wrongly. And just a quick reminder that if you like this content, please do like and subscribe and leave a comment below, and I'll catch you in the next video.